Now we're live. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. And we're in for the next installment of the show, and we've survived the controversy of last week.
Oh yes, and I promise I'll behave.
Well, do you know what? So first of all, of course, I will introduce. We have Lady G in the middle. Weather seems to be good there. We've got a weather question coming up, and of course, we have Dr. Lena Rodriguez, who is coming to us live Sunday morning from Australia. So before we continue where we left off, because I got a little update for you on the little Harry thing. Lena, first of all,
you sure, Hogarth?
Yeah, no, I'm sure, because I've actually started reading the book and I just want to tie a bow on it, and it's I just we can't leave it dangling where it was. But before we continue, I know you've spoken about it already, and Lady G was just asking, but debrief us on your experiences with Mary Trump.
Oh, okay, sure. She is genuinely such a lovely woman. She is so warm and fabulous in every way, and I'm so proud to be an honorary nerd Avenger. So everything about it was positive except for my lighting crisis. So it looked like I was coming to you from the inside of a cow.
I don't think that mattered. Your content was fabulous. So
thank you, Lady G.
It was really good, and I really enjoyed hearing it, and I think you came across very well. And I just think it's so nice that these things are reaching a broader audience, where the American people realize you're not alone. There's a lot of people watching, a lot of people paying attention. Oh, thank you for
that's very kind, Catherine. But the last thing I want to say on that, which is actually the first thing, which is it wouldn't have happened without the intrepid viewers. Seriously. She said that. I was deluged by people saying I had to have you on. And so that's down to you guys, So thank you, viewers.
Fabulous. Right. Okay. So we're getting the show underway. Now let's just do a little recap on last week, when where I thought, we're going to discuss a little bit about Prince Harry, and some of the revelations of his book, and it ended up becoming quite a controversial topic and show, with some backwards and forwards and this, that, and the other, and some people were unpleased because they felt maybe things were taken out of context, etc., and stuff like that. Anyway, in the meantime, I've got the book. Someone actually forwarded me a copy of the book.
Yeah.
So I decided to have a read and see certain things in context. Now I only got it. I think got it yesterday or something like that, and I've read about a third of it, about a third of the book. But it's been enough to kind of get the general kind of context and stuff like that. And it's very interesting. I would say for me, it's a mixed bag, mixed feelings. Yeah, mixed bag, mixed feelings. Part of me really actually empathizes with Harry in terms of the loss of his mother, because I lost my mum quite young. I mean, I wasn't 13, but I was 20. I was still quite young. So there was a lot there that I could empathize with, that I could recognize and stuff like that. And Harry, for a long time, he was very traumatized by the death. But also as well, what emerged is he didn't actually get to see Diana physically. And for me, having lost both parents now, sadly, obviously, as we know, my father passed away last year, but my mum passed away about 20 years before that. There's something very important about seeing the body. Yeah, I know this is grim, gruesome stuff, but it's worth a discussion because it brings closure. It means it's real. It's very interesting. Harry, for a long time, couldn't really process that his mother had actually passed away, because he thought it was all a game. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. But within that, as much as I have that empathy and stuff like that for him as well, there is also this aspect too of a kind of arrested development. and a bit of a lack of curiosity as into the internal world of anyone that's not in his life, particularly his family. Yeah, so there are some bugbears, there's some grievances, but when you read the book, it's pretty obvious why he's facing these obstacles. Anyway, so I thought I'll mention that. So one of the things that stuck out for me though was when he was talking about Camilla, yeah, who he described as the villain. Now you can imagine if you're describing your husband's wife as the villain, it's probably not going to go down too well. Yeah. But what I found interesting was that Harry didn't seem to understand the subtext between Camilla and Charles, because we all know Charles and Camilla were together before Diana was on the scene. I'm not saying that's right. Yeah, I'm not saying it's right, but we're just stating facts.
What is? Yeah.
What is? And what is, Charles is married who he believes to be the love of his life, and he will stay the rest of his life with Camilla. But what I found interesting in the book was that there was no understanding of that subtext at all. I'm not saying Harry should excuse it or whatever, but it was like he was starting from scratch. He doesn't seem to understand the internal world of members of his family. Now we know that, you know, Meghan had a terrible time in the press and all that stuff. This is a separate issue. Yeah, we all agree. Yeah, we all know. But this is pre-Meghan. So anyway, I read the book and it was very interesting. And I got this sense of naivety, this sense of this wounded child of arrested development. But I saw the live interviews as well that he did, and there's some processing, but really he's coming from a very wounded place. So I just wanted to kind of put that there. Very interesting. Anyway, shall we start the show?
Sure.
Yeah, all right.
But I understand about not seeing the body. That happened with me too.
Please explain.
Yeah, my father called and said, "Oh, I think your mother's dead," you know, and I rushed. Wow. I was living in San Francisco, and I got there so fast that I drove, that I got there when they were loading her into the, they had just loaded her into the ambulance and taken her to the hospital. And the doctors came out and said we couldn't revive her. And I never saw her. It was, the next day my dad had her cremated, and that was it. And there was no memorial service, no nothing.
That is, yeah. So you've got nowhere to put it, you know.
No, there was not even seen cremation ashes. I mean, nothing. One day she was, and the next day it's like never existed on the planet.
Wow. That's quite astonishing. And before we move on, but just from my own experience, because sadly, like I said, I've had buried both of my parents, seen them physically dead, and then carried the coffin as well each time. And actually someone reminded me, it was one of my best friends who I know from childhood, Andrew, who was there at my mother's funeral. He reminded me that I'd carried her coffin. I'd forgotten. And it was quite interesting when Harry was talking about his memory blanking out, and how he cried when he saw her coffin going into the ground. And he said it took him a long time to cry again. For me, it took over a year. And I'd realized that sometimes the trauma can be so deep, this particularly with parents, but mother in particular, the emotion can't even come out. No. Do you know what I mean? Until much later on. So with that, yes, I do empathize with Harry, but there are certain immaturities and febrile vengeances and little pettiness here and there, but it's also entertaining as well, but it's mixed. Let's put it that way. I don't think he's going to be invited to much stuff unless it's funerals, unfortunately. Anyway, let's move on.
Onwards.
Okay. Yes, onwards. So what have I got here? Oh, all right. This is what we have to talk about. This is another controversial one, I think, but people have covered it. No, let's have a little chin wag about the Joe Biden situation. Isn't that interesting? Like, ladies, before we read, what are your opinions on it before we pull the cards?
Well, my opinion was maybe it was some sort of setup as well, you know, because it's kind of amazing at the timing of when they found everything, you know. But, you know, it could be that he just had misplaced and busy and they have other people packing stuff up. So who knows what all's going on with it in the end.
And there's stuff in the garage now as well at home, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lena, what are your thoughts?
Well, here's my thing. I think it's just super sloppy. And I'm sorry, there is no excuse.
Mhm.
And there has to be an inquiry to go through the handling and where the protocols broke down, which obviously they do. We can talk for endlessly about how it's really different from Trump, because I don't think for 1 minute he intentionally did it or had an ulterior motive. It's slack administration in any administration to do that. Any librarian knows where their librarian books are, right? You know, it should be a two-faced system where anything that's taken out, there's notification of that. And at the end of every presidency, or in this case, vice presidency, where are files X, Y, and Z?
Exactly.
So I worked in the hospital system for a long time in administration, and no file could move without an insert coded where that file went.
Wow.
It wasn't just an honor system. Oh, I hope Dr. Smith gives it back. No. So there's something really wrong with the National Archives and with this system of cleaning it up.
Yeah.
So that's what I think.
Very interesting. My reaction, my first reaction was one of disappointment, obviously, because I was just like, wow, this is huge ammunition to, you know, the GOP, who are
undermines
just
the whole thing.
Yeah.
who are just doing this whole scale attack on democracy and everything. And of course, we put on questions. So my first, obviously, human response was just a real sinking feeling. The other one was just like, oh my God, do they not have librarians there? What on earth is going on? This is too important. And then just recently, documents have turned up in the garage as well of his home. And I'm just like, oh my God. So there's part of me that really worries that this has taken a lot of stuff back. I hope it's not the case. I know Mary Trump is not pleased with Merrick Garland right now for actually launching the special counsel, but how could he not, in many ways, after all of the brouhaha? Yeah, he kind of has to, yeah? So I think he'll get over it eventually, but I think a lot of moral high ground has been lost. But let's see what the cards say. But there is clearly something amiss with these top classified documents just wandering around and turning up, and that has to stop. So let's see what the cards have to say.
Yeah.
What's exactly our question?
Well, I put here. Yeah, let's see how this is going to affect. Let's see how this is going to affect Joe Biden going forward, because I think that's relevant, because this is quite a significant development. Let's put it that way. How will this affect Joe Biden going forward, and even potentially, that's what someone was asking. Actually, I've just remembered. Suzanne asked, why were the documents at his Biden? There's several questions. Why were they at his residencies? Why and where? Why are we looking for them now? But also as well, she's saying, how will this affect 45's investigation going forward? And will it cause Biden not to run in 2024? That's a whole lot in there, but let's just look at the effect on Biden. How will this affect Biden?
Yes, some viewers are saying you can't compare it because it wasn't intentional. That's actually true if you were dealing with sane, sensible people who were looking at the subtle differences in this scenario, but it's red meat.
Yeah. A lot of ammunition. I mean, the GOP are very whataboutism anyway, but now they actually have a genuine one. It's just so unfortunate. I really wish it wasn't the case, but we have to.
It's really awful. Nuts for Art makes a good point. The scandal is nobody was looking for them, and Biden's team found them and handed them in. Nobody was looking, which is my point.
Yeah, it just feels like a huge own goal. I just wish it felt different, but it just feels like a huge own goal. But let's see. I mean, if they'd covered it up, then of course they would have been accused of doing the same as Dr. Larange. But then there can be that element, which has actually reminded me of the what's her name? What's it called? Reagan's daughter, Patty Davis. This is a little reference to Harry again, but she said she was talking about the value of silence, and that, you know, it's, if we apply that to Biden, maybe would it have been better just to, but I don't know. Oh dear. Who would like to go first?
I'll go if you like.
Go for it. Go for it, Lena.
He gets the Knight of Pentacles first off, which is sort of vaguely reassuring, you know, the slow, steady knight in this context. He also gets the Star card. You know, in other words, I think he's going to get over this and move on. The Queen of Wands is here. Why he needs a spokesperson to deal with this. I don't listen to talking heads much. So that person, if they're not already out there giving his side of the story, needs to. And it needs to be someone uber trustworthy, you know, who presents really well, who just keeps explaining to people where it's at. And the Ace of Swords, which is, yes, there has to be an investigation. And this Queen should be saying, yes, there should be an investigation into this. Mr. Biden has nothing to hide about this. This was being let down radically badly by his staff, and we welcome the investigation would be, to me, the smart thing to be saying.
Yeah.
And we are going to introduce, you know, greater regulation. We hope we have bipartisan support for this. You know, these documents have to be handled better. But I think he'll survive it, is my gist.
Lady G, what do you have?
Well, the overarching thing is the hidden stuff, looking at that. Going into the center of it, shedding light on it, new opportunities for balance and bringing this stuff, like you said, we need to do better care with stuff. But going into it, we have all the cup of emotions, the Pandora's box, needing some temperance, because underneath of it, we have them telling the fish tales and, you know, sharing the poisonous, you know, Kool-Aid that the GOP is doing. And the challenge with this is, you know, the harsh light of truth. But the good news is there will be a victory. He will come out of it, you know, and family thing. Of course, the GOP is not going to listen to any of it. You know, you can't convince them of anything, but he will get a victory. The harsh light of truth is going to come out as to, you know, that it's not the same thing as what 45 was doing, no matter how much poison the GOP wants to put out about it.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, what are the cards that I've got? Mine are just, they're quite explicit, but anyway, here we are. I get the Judgment card, to almost symbolize the whole reading. Look at this. So of course, I mean, look, this is pretty obvious, isn't it? So now it's Joe finds himself in a position of judgment, being judged and being compared, and of course legal things and news. You know, this can also mean big news, big disclosures. There it is. The cards are just saying whatever. They're just stating that. Now this is interesting. Look who's come in my obstacle position. Ace of Pentacles. Now, normally this card means, of course, fertile, beginnings, fecundity, money, wealth, etc. However, when I was delving into the reports, because I prepared extra, even more today for today's show, one of the things they spoke about, they said the archives doesn't have enough funding.
Just like the IRS. Yeah.
Right. This has turned up technically in the obstacle position, which means what? The absence of money. Clearly something's not going right. So I was watching a correspondent talk today and they said, look, there's all this stuff. They don't have a proper system of in and out, and they don't have the resources to travel to the different places. I know, bless. They don't have the resources to basically go index and check people's properties and stuff like that, which is unfortunate. But here it is in the obstacle position. Lack of money, lack of finances. Next position here in the middle, Queen of Cups. And Queen of Cups, what is she famous for? Keeping her secrets, under the lid. This quite literally can mean secrets as well. Here, inside here. So what I think this is talking about, obviously it's a surprise that there's stuff, particularly there's documents that were found next to Biden's Cadillac and stuff like that. Yeah. But really, I think this is talking about the wider context of secrets in general. They're not being protected. I'm not saying they're not being protected, but there needs to be, like Lena said, more clear due diligence and looking after this stuff, because it's very embarrassing. It's shocking. It's just really tricky. So if we look here, obviously Biden's feeling a bit in a bind at the moment. This is almost feeling like being taken for hostage and stuff like that. However, the card also suggests as well, this was potentially an avoidable situation. While the Trump stuff was going on, that was the time to clean shop, clean house. Or do we have potentially something that could be incriminating, that could be used against us, etc.? So it's, as we know, the Eight of Swords can sometimes be a situation of your own making. I mean, I'm just saying what the card is. So I'm not going to sugar water it down. We have to be truthful. Now, the outcome card here is, look, Wheel of Fortune. Quite literally, we can see these revelations have kind of changed the fortunes a bit. So although, of course, it's not as nearly as egregious as Duck L'Orange, who has brazenly done whatever he's done, this will change the calculus, though. How could it not? How could it not? Exactly. So, yes, unfortunately, this is changing things. We have to see how it goes. Hopefully, it will work out for Biden, but it does change the calculus. Anything else to add to that, ladies?
No.
No? I know. It's just a bit of a wah, isn't it?
Yeah, really.
Oh, dear. Okay, right. Also, as well, what I want to say is, sorry, I made some notes here of when some of these discoveries were made. But do you remember the eclipses? Remember I said with eclipses, sudden shocks and surprises, things often come out of the dark that we didn't know before, and it can be very surprising. The first documents were discovered in November. What do we have? We had that huge eclipse in the midterms. Do you remember? So it often has these reverberations. So I just wanted to say that. Right. Okay. Next, let's talk about Tesla. Let's talk about Tesla cars. So I've written here, Tesla slashes its prices by as much as 20% on its EVs, extending aggressive discounting tactics to challenge rivals. Because there's been talk now for a while that Teslas are overpriced. I think the average price until recently was $55,000, something like that. I mean, that could be a deposit for a house. Anyway, so previously prices were increasing when demand was higher. So I put here, what is the future of Tesla? Will it be able to survive the competition? And of course, by extension, that talks about Elon Musk as well, doesn't it?
And I think it's not just what he's doing with the pricing of the cars. It's in October last year, there was yet another crash, taking the total fatalities of Tesla fully automatic cars. 19 people have died. Wow. And in October last year, there was 9. So just in one accident, because it just swept to the wrong lane, brake, causing an 8-car pileup.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. What was that, the self-driving?
Yeah.
Yeah, needs to be looked at.
Yeah, I agree with that comment. I wouldn't drive one even if you gave it to me. I agree with that comment.
I think it's still, although we like the idea of driverless cars, which always makes me think of that film with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do you remember, called Total Recall? Do you remember that? Did you ever see that in the 80s? But driving a car is still an immensely sophisticated thing. And at this stage, humans are probably still better behind the wheel, because it can cause a false sense of security. People take their hands off, start brushing their teeth or whatever it is they're doing, eating crisps, watching movies, but you still need to kind of have the hand on the wheel, in my opinion. I'm a bit old school.
Well, also, it would be different if we were in an ultra high-tech scenario where the highways were made for driverless cars and it was a whole thing. It would probably be better, but just plonking them into a normal highway situation.
Indeed. Let's see, future of Tesla. Who's ready to go? Or would you like me to go? I could go on this one. I don't mind.
You go.
Let's have a look. Ooh. Bloody hell. All right. Well, okay, this is, the cards have been, again, they're quite strong. Here we are. So the situation with Tesla, what's their future? 10 of Wands, hard work. They're having to graft now. Now they're having to graft. A few months ago, I think they were saying around about the middle of 2021, Tesla's share price was booming, super demand for the cars. They could put the prices up because demand was outstripping supply. Now things they're saying it's actually a lot harder. This is also Tesla having to do with competition. So what was easier before is now becoming a burden, or they're having to work a lot harder to be where they were before, because it's natural. You get onto something good, competition comes into the market. In the obstacle position, we've got here the King of Swords. Now, of course, the King of Swords is all about rational judgment, being fair and all that kind of stuff. I have a feeling as well, this could be Elon Musk feeling a little bit hard done by, yeah, by all of what? Because swords can also represent criticism, yeah? Maybe he's had a lot of shtick over the last few months for good reason, because he's done some silly stuff. But also as well, this can also show how the opposition are also getting their ducks in a row as well. There's also been issues with manufacturing and steel. Swords always make me think of steel and hard-edged things. But in the middle of the reading, maybe this is even more pertinent. We get the Devil, yeah? Now, we know really what this has been about. Tesla was doing just fine, but then, of course, there were the adventures into Twitter, and it started getting dicey. It started to affect what? The share price. Do you both know that Elon Musk has just gained the Guinness World Book of Records for the biggest fortune lost? Have you heard about this?
Yes, 200 billion, wasn't it, or something?
Yeah, something like that, or close to. So we can see here, look, all is not well. I think this is actually describing Elon Musk, who I've said privately to friends, I feel has been in some kind of extended, almost manic episodes. For me personally, I'm not a psychologist, but I've felt for a while now he's been in a kind of manic episode. And of course, the devil can speak as well about things like this: vices, sicknesses, being attached to things, codependency, mental health issues. Now what we see here, another major arcana card, we've got the Hierophant. So of course this can talk about, you know, government rules, regulations, traditions and stuff like that. But what's interesting is governments around the world have started to change some of their legislation, where now there are discounts for electronic vehicles being spearheaded by governments, including the USA government as well. So people are beginning to get more discounts on their electric cars. But that, of course, will do what? Increase competition. However, the outside outcome card here is the King of Wands, entrepreneurship, business. I think ultimately more people are going to get stuck in. I think EVs are going to grow, which means, of course, less emission, less carbon dioxide, hopefully. So I think all in all, it's probably for the best. What do you have, ladies?
Lady G?
Yeah. Well, the center, the overriding thing are the lovers, the people that are involved.
Funnily enough.
Yeah, you have the same thing. Yeah, I think it's the people that he's trying to convince to buy and others to work with him to promote it. He's trying to say he's flush and he's still giving out all of these things. We have the main male. And again, he's trying to present a picture of light and everything's fine and don't worry about it. Going in, again, that's his message, celebratory message to the lovers, to those he's involved with, still trying to promote it like, you know, everything's great. It's fabulous. You see what's coming. But we have, when it comes to the occupation, working and building, the message is this is not going well. It's like an abuse of power. They're trying to muscle things through in a wrong way. Then the challenge coming up is we may have court cases coming up, which are going to be just lightning difficult. That's going to start some new things coming in energetically with him. As far as the gifts that it looks like he's given, those are going to be eaten away. And he's going to go back to trying to find a way to do the theft, to, you know, so while it looks like he's going to be giving things for a time, no, he's going to find some way to manipulate that.
He's definitely got to make quick moves now, hasn't he? Because competition. Sorry, Lena, you were going to say?
Yeah, no, that's all right. Maggie says a billionaire's midlife crisis. And I think that's exactly what this card is about with the Page of Cups. This is his boyishness coming through with the acquisition of Twitter, of course, where he sees himself as a titan of industry, but he's got this duality, which is what you were hinting at, Hoagie, about perhaps mental health issues or something. He moves between, I wish I could work out this camera, he moves between being the boardroom titan and this boy. Deals with other people, promising them the world. Right. But I think this is the beginning of the loss. I don't think he's going to, you know, be poor by mortal standards or anything. This to me is fool's gold in relation to this, because all the indicators are China will just jump over it and produce a cheaper model anyway, and everyone will go fuss for 10 minutes and buy that one, you know. So I think he's
American suppliers too, and European suppliers as well. They're all getting in. Sorry.
Yeah, but China will undercut all of them. Why wouldn't they? It's exactly, or another Asian country could. Just as we ended up going from our own national brands to Toyota and this and that because they did it better, cheaper. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we good to move on to the next question? Anything else to add?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, now we're going to fly our esoteric plane to Russia, but in a different context. And someone we've not spoken about for a while on the show, or maybe not even on the HoGaLe's actually. And I thought we should talk about Alexei Navalny. Yeah.
Yes, how is he doing?
Yes.
His daughter has been speaking for him.
Oh yeah,
I don't think she has access to him, but she stepped up in terms of the family to keep his name out there and so forth.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting. So I did a video on Navalny ages ago when he returned to Russia, and I said, look, don't do it. It's a mistake. I said, Putin's going to throw you in jail, lock you up for years, and fling you in some far-flung place, hopefully until the world forgets about you and you just quietly die in prison, which you know he's obviously trying to do. But so it says here, there's concerns over his health, but recently 500 Russian doctors have signed an open letter to Vladimir Putinshka, demanding prison authorities stop abusing Navalny by clearly denying him basic medicines. Isn't this interesting? So I think what Navalny has said is that the guards, obviously under instruction from the Kremlin, have deliberately been putting him with people that have tuberculosis and flu in the hope that he'll get, you know, it's so cruel. In the hope that he'll get infected. Recently, he was apparently given some antibiotics. But what I wanted to ask is, what is Navalny's future?
Navalny.
His future. See, I'm trying to look up there. Oh, look, someone else said they didn't get to see their father. Didn't get to see my dad either. Beyond heartbreaking. It's very sad. It's very sad. Let's see. That's awful. They don't know saying that's awful. Totally different here. My family members passed. Anyone who's ready to go?
Yeah, not surprisingly, they're not wonderful cards. You know, we can't dress up. This is the card of the tight wire walk. If you speak up in Russia, you know, you're left on a tight wire, as we know, just from oligarchs falling out of windows and things.
Oh, fenestration.
At least, no, what am I trying to say here? The regime is forced into, as you were saying, just exposing him to things. They obviously can't kill him outright, but he lives with that awful, awful tension and pressure. There's an overview here that represents, I think, looking at the whole of Russia now, it would have to be affirming, if he's trying to cling on to his sanity and his psyche in long term, the worst of the worst detention places, that what's going on for Russia generally is giving him some optimism, right? The fact that Putin's so radically unpopular, etc. He then gets the 10 of Cups and the 5 of Wands, which is the 5 of Swords. So to me, it's open-ended, not pretty. It's just a matter of hanging on. That's all he can do.
Lady G, what do you have?
Well, overview of it is justice, wanting justice. At the center of it, now I'm using the Crow Magic deck, so this is a little different. We have the King of Swords, which is domination and mastery, and we have, of course, the snake, Putin, that wants to dominate everything. Going into it, we have the King of Cups, the diviner and the sage. You know, I think he's one that can reach the people, Navalny, and that's the message. He continues to hold out for democracy. We have the Queen of Cups next, the shaman, the enchanter, and he continues to voice for democracy in the midst of all of it. But then we have, you know, the things of life, all this stuff that is coming, the treasure, the discovery, that, you know, this is for the long-term haul to the difficult times. And again, the harvest of this is the unhappiness of the people when it comes to the knowledge and insight and things that are happening with him. So he's continuing to hold out and hold that light for people, for democracy, but he is having a very difficult time holding on, you know, to get out of there in one piece.
Yeah, can't be easy at all. But yeah, interesting cards that I've got as well. Now this is interesting. The first card I get here, Six of Cups. Yeah, we know this is about what? Nostalgia, you know, the past, looking back and wanting things to be how they once were. Now, I have a feeling this is speaking about Putin and Navalny. Yeah, Putin, of course, wants to put the everything back in the war. All these people are trying to kind of rehash the past anyway. We see it happening so much politically. But when I look at this from the perspective of Navalny, how can he not regret returning to Russia? I think he had naive ideas. Yeah, I think he had naive. Now, look, I don't want this to come across as a criticism of Navalny. You guys can actually look back at the video I did for him almost 2 years ago now. But I did say this was a naive, like he's got the hero archetype. Yeah. However, the shadow of the hero can be naivety in assessing the danger of your opponent. Tinshka, one of my other nicknames for him is the Black Widow. Yeah, he's a spider. He's a killer. Yeah, he would have been more effective outside of the country because he was being so damaging. Yeah, but anyway, he went back out of a sense of nostalgia for what? Russia. Yeah. However, look at the obstacle card. Could it be more explicit? Could it? The Hanged Man is in limbo. He's in jail. He was locked up for a few years and then retried again. And now, what has Putinshka done? Banged him up for another 9 years. He's in a state of suspended animation, not going backwards, not going forwards. He's in stasis. Next card, look, the Lovers, another major arcana. Important choices to be made. This is about deals, contracts, but impactful decisions. I also feel like this is Navalny maybe trying to maintain his relationship with the outside world so we don't forget him. Maybe this is his daughter as well, trying to do her part to keep his memory alive so we just don't, in the distractions that we have, that we don't completely forget about Navalny. I forgot to say we've got over 1,200 of you with us here tonight. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. So key decisions. But look at the card that comes out next. This is Seven of Swords, which we associate most with what? Russia. Yeah, how many times has this come up? So you can see the cards are listening. In a way, this again for me speaks to Putin and Navalny. Putin is clearly obviously trying to wants him to die quietly in jail. That's what Putin wants. Yeah? But also this is Navalny trying to get away with something as well, trying to escape with what? His life. He's trying to survive. I also associate this card with wit and cunning. Because what this guy does is he takes away the swords and to a left. I think this is also why Navalny has been consistently put in solitary confinement. Such is his charisma, such is his speech, he could inspire the whole basic prison population to be on his side. So it's almost like there's this toing and froing. They've also made complaints about him being consistently put in solitary confinement. He's not dangerous. Why is he in solitary confinement? Because he may be able to change hearts and minds of those people around him, from the camp. Anyway, the outcome card, look at this, 8 of Pentacles. This is graft, this is grind. He's really working hard to hold on. Putin is working hard to make the world forget. But I also think this is people working hard who are wanting to preserve Navalny so he's not forgotten. After all, 500 doctors did sign an open letter, and it does seem to have had at least a little bit of effect there. Right. Have we all read? Sorry, my mind just went blank.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I'd just like to read Cheryl's comment. 1,420 interviews with young and old people in Russia. The young people get it, they comprehend what's going on, whereas the older ones support Putin. And I've been saying this for years. It's a generational thing. So Navalny is not popular with older Russians. He is hugely popular with young Russians. So it's a generational shift they're looking at too.
Yeah. Let's hope. The Eight of Pentacles is a very steadfast card, of working hard and grafting. So as long as he has breath in his body, he stands a chance. Let's just put it that way. Okay, let's see how we do. Oh, yes, we've got enough time. So here, let's see if I've got any other questions. Yes. So let's talk about, so anything to add to that before we move on?
Yes, a correction. Sorry, I thought it was an interview with 1,420 people. 1,420 is a channel on YouTube. Thank you, Cheryl, for correcting that for me.
And someone's saying here, I wonder if the documents were planted and if they were from the missing document Orange Grifter had.
Oh, and what the West is doing with Julian Assange is the same thing. You're absolutely right, Ida.
Oh, good point. Yeah, good point. Okay, let's talk weather. Yeah, let's talk weather. We need to talk about California, but I just want to give everyone a little bit of, before we talk about the physical weather, a little bit of the astrological weather, because it's actually quite a lot happening. So indulge me as we digress a little bit, but this is really, really important. So so we know, for example, with California, some areas had up to 16 inches of rain. Can you believe that? 16 inches of rain. It's astonishing amounts of water. I was actually watching Marie's Table the other day, and she was talking about, I'm seeing water, and she was thinking about China. But when I was watching, I was thinking, I wonder if she might be picking up on the United States. And then, the deluge happened. Anyway, shout out to Maria. I hope she seems to be doing well. Anyway, so Saturn, planet of winter, is about to change signs. In Western astrology, they already have him in Aquarius, but he actually in sidereal, he changes on the 17th of January. Yeah, big deal. We're all going to have this shift of stuff speeding up. If anyone wants the details, look at my Saturn accountability video. Thank you. On the 2nd of February, Saturn will reach 2 degrees of sidereal Aquarius. What I found is when a planet hits 2 degrees of a new sign, that's when it can really start pulling some levers. Maybe, I hope, could we start seeing more accountability come in terms of legal timeframes? Because I don't know about you guys, I'm getting sick and tired of this BS, right? We need to get this sorted. It's too important. Anyway, so there's that. Jupiter is also in Pisces at the moment with Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It rules the sign of Pisces. And when Jupiter does a sign, he expands it even more. Pisces is oceanic, deals with water. So Jupiter's action is also increasing flooding. Remember as well what's been happening with Australia, other places. Neptune is soon going to move into Pisces in February. So that's water. Could even be more, yeah. And then on the 22nd of April, Jupiter will enter sidereal Aries, which is a sign of heat and fire. It's also where the eclipses are. So we could go from extreme water and we could go back to the hot situation again. So I just wanted to flag that up. Anyway, question. Mercury will go direct on January 18th, and Mars has just gone direct yesterday. So just to give that update there. So question, will proper and robust climate change action ever be fully enacted by the USA government as Katie Porter so desires to see happen as part of her campaign for a Senate placement. Yeah. So will proper legislation ever be passed for fixing the climate? Question on my life has failed. Let's see. Human potential saying DOJ is setting the bar for what's coming for the Orange Menace. Yeah, let's see. I hope so. Yeah. People saying something weird and no one noticed the documents weren't checked back into the system. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. All right. Who would like to go next, or shall I go on this one?
Yeah, go for it.
Go ahead.
I've not pulled my cards yet. All right. Will the USA pass basically meaningful climate change legislation, a la Katie Porter, who I saw in an interview, was talking about that. Let's see. All right. Okay, there we go. First card out of the deck, Ace of Swords. Yeah, we have reached a truth inflection point. Yeah, I mean, it's naked now, isn't it? It is obvious to all what is going on. It's time for it's not only the States, the whole world. We know the truth now. Climate change is real. Let's just get on with it. How many more deluges, hurricanes, fires, and God knows what has to happen? Yeah.
Now, I don't know about that because, you know, the deposition that 45 just gave, they asked him about climate change, and he said, you know, again, it's a hoax.
Yeah, okay.
It's a hoax. So, yeah.
Right.
Don't believe it like any of the rest of the things.
Now, isn't it interesting you should mention that? Because look what turned up in the obstacle position. The Emperor. There you go. Yeah. So this could be, you know, we could be talking about Duck L'Orange here, of course, but this is a wider context. The way I interpret this is talking about patriarchy overall. Yeah. Not to always throw the men under the bus. Do you know what I mean? Not to always throw the men under the bus, but let's just say a certain type of man, a certain type of patriarchal man, captains of industry who do not want things to change. The Emperor is all about authority, putting one's stamp on things, energy, passion, and action, but also can deal with patriarchal institutions. But it's turned up in the obstacle position. This is certain captains of people of industry that think in certain ways, yeah? Blocking what? The truth, yeah? This sword of truth. They're tussling together. Look what's in the middle of the reading. The moon, yeah? For some reason, people are still confused about this issue. I mean, come on, how many times? We're just seeing it. But here it turns up next to, yeah? So we're talking, this is people with shadow agendas, hidden agendas, still not wanting to see the truth. Again, the moon can also talk about mental illness, denial, things not being clear. People are still trying to muddy the waters in regards to this truth, yeah? Not wanting to see it clearly for what it is. However, if we carry on down this path, what we're going to have impoverishment. People will be becoming homeless, yeah? Because their places are flooding, stuff is burning down. How many people have lost their homes now? Think about it. In Australia, how many people have been flooded out? America, UK, the whole world, China, Yangtze River, all of this kind of stuff. So unless we change, we're all going to be poorer. And that's what these captains of industry have to understand. They're going to be broke as well. You can't sell assets that are either burnt up or underwater. Yeah. So here, outcome card, 2 of Wands. Quite literally, look at that. The world is in his palm. Contemplate. making plans. We need to start making concrete plans. So could it be that because everyone, even though America is going through this intensely crazy phase at the moment, the world still looks to America as an example? If America can really get this stuff through without the GOP absolutely chewing it up, and where we can really get some legislation through, it could be an example for the world, and hopefully we can turn the corner. Who would like to go next?
You go, Lady G.
Okay. Well, what we have overriding it is the High Priestess, but I'm going to go ahead and read this one. You are on course to receive real rewards, but only if you continue your discipline and motivation. Follow your intuition, and you're headed towards the lasting contentment of success. But so, we've got to put the energy into it. We've got to be focused, and we've got to go forward. So what I have in the center of it, we have the offer perhaps by the White House. We may have something coming out from Biden, etc., on this climate change. Going into it, we have what? Out in the cold because of the lies and the drama that they continue to put out there. People are out in the cold because of why? We have the merchants. Yet again, the same thing as you had basically merchants selling their delusion, their illusion, so that they can continue to make money. Okay? This is from their mental thing, and this is their great wonderful mental action that they're putting out there. So the challenge is, I know, don't worry about it. We've got fracking, we've got whatever else other stuff that they're doing.
And I'm going to be dead in 10 years, so who cares? It's also part of that mentality that,
exactly. Sorry. No, that's all good. Jump in. I'm happy for it. So anyway, the challenge is, what direction are they going? Are they going to walk away from it? Or are they going to go forward and look towards what we're having with the global warming and the water and all the other stuff? Because the clarification is humanity, families. That's the key. So where are we going? Are we going to push for these changes, or are we going to close down and walk away from it?
Very, very interesting. Okay. And Lena,
curious. It starts with the Fool card. And so for those learning tarot or whatever, the major arcana cycle begins with the Fool, the zero. And I think here it's the twin aspects of the Fool. We collectively, as countries, have been profoundly foolish in ignoring climate change. But the upside of the Fool is the brand new day. So I think we're literally at that hinge point, in terms. Then we have King of Cups and King of Swords, someone who gets the reality and the implications of it and needing some legal backup to go forward. The problem is, and Australia is a commodity-driven country, right? Mining of everything. So Australians struggle with this idea, even though it's in front of our eyes. Australians, like everywhere else, the majority of people either deny it, aren't interested in it, turn their backs on it, think it is a real thing, but what can I do? People just have this passive relationship with the crisis that really needs direction, and the leaders are not providing that direction because no one's brave enough to turn the back on their lobbyists from big energy.
To give them the money.
So, I think you were saying, Hogarth, last time, the patriarchal energy. This, I think, is the matriarchal energy that has to come through to explain to people this is the future. We are 5 minutes to midnight. It's too late for the first aid kit. What we actually need are radical responses, because we're having millions and millions and millions and millions of climate refugees. And global racism is such, if it's Bangladeshi people struggling in the floods, everyone goes, oh, that's sad, and moves on. When white people are going to be washed out of their homes, oh, it will be a global tragedy of unparalleled proportions. So I think this needs to come forward, this female energy. And Ace of Cups as the outcome, we can get there, but we're going to have to change the world to get there. And you know what? I think that's only a good thing, because if you radically change the power relationship of big energy and people resenting being ripped off, like in the UK, by big energy company, every country has its issues with big energy, you actually radicalize people. And I mean that in a good way. It has to be radically different, not a little bit different. Little bit different's not going to cut it, you know?
Very interesting. Very interesting. And it's very interesting debates going on as well in the chat as well about the topics that we're raising. Still lots talking about Harry, but you know, we're moving on from that. But for those that are watching this on replay, I think the comments will play up on the side. And of course, feel free to comment as well and what have you on the video. And a morning too as well to people who are watching us Sunday Australia time, but also many of you tend to watch the show your Sunday morning as well with a coffee and stuff like that. Hopefully slightly less controversial than last week, but I think nonetheless very interesting, very interesting. Okay, we're going international again.
Before we move on, I just wanted to say, you pulled the feminine energy card and the love. What was coming through here, it's not only with climate change, that there needs to be the radical change to honor women and to honor that whole thing, the whole cycle of mother and reproduction, and all of that needs to change in order for us to move forward.
The whole dynamic of people's relationship with each other and their governments and governments with each other. It has to, and this might be the critical issue that actually makes that happen.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to honor Mother Earth, you have to honor women and all the whole.
Yes, everything's connected to everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, divine feminine and all that, as you know, which I'm a huge advocate of. And one of the things I'm really proud about with this show as well is that we have two seasoned, experienced voices. Yeah. People may not always necessarily agree with what is said, but for me, this is what really keeps it real. And I just want to give a real appreciation to the both of you as well for sharing your wisdom and experience. And as you can imagine, I have a lot of clients, and what I often see is that women are often silenced, deemed invisible, or not worth bothering, just at the time when they're coming into their most impactful, most knowledgeable, most wise. And because I've seen it so often, for me, this is my little kind of thing where it's just like, great, let's put those voices out there. And it's always so stimulating to work with the both of you. So I just want to give you both my appreciation of your feminine wiles, divine feminine, and all the naughtiness included. Yeah.
Was that a nice way of saying we're older than dirt?
No, I would never say that. I would say mature, seasoned, cultivated. Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's quickly squeeze. Oh, look at that! Look, we've the hour's gone already, but I think we've got to quickly cover this one. So now we're taking the aeroplane to the esoteric aeroplane to China, but in a slightly different context. So, of course, the lockdowns and stuff are pretty much ended. Yes, of course, the virus is absolutely letting rip through China. They've been accused of not keeping up proper numbers, etc., and stuff like that. Even if they do tell you, you've got to take it with a huge pinch of salt. However, there is a sense of optimism returning to the country because A, they're not living under that chokehold that they've had for 3 years of the zero COVID policy, which was always going to have to be scrapped at some point. But what's really interesting is on the 22nd of January, coming up soon, it's Chinese New Year. Chinese New Year.
Oh my God, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's a 2-week festival, but everyone in China will have 7 days off work. Yeah, so it's a huge, it actually is the biggest annual human migration that happens.
That's right, yes, every year.
Every year, except of course they've been locked down. So people literally, some of them have not seen their families for nearly 2.5/3 years.
It's inconceivable.
Imagine, it's astonishing. So what I wanted to ask is, what we are going into is ironically, we're going into the year of the water rabbit. Now, we were talking about water. It's also known as the cat. I prefer the cat, but apparently at some point they changed it to rabbit because the communists felt that the cat was too self-indulgent, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going into the year of the water rabbit. So I just wanted us to pull some cards to see what potentially that could bring for the world. And the dates are the 22nd of January to February 9th, 22nd of January 2023 to Feb 9th, 2024, lunar-based calendar. Water rabbit. What does the year bring? And that will close the show.
Fascinating. While we're shuffling, yes, 4K Conlove says, courageous male energy, protective and creative energy is needed too. That's absolutely right.
Absolutely.
So it is about balancing of the energies. The divine feminine is inclusive of kind, considerate, knowledgeable men.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely what it should be about.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
year of the water rabbit. Oh my God.
I'm a bit worried that the water element comes back again, so that might be quite obvious. And for those of you who are curious, if we look here, 2020 was the year of the rat. Yeah, we can know rats can deal with what? Sometimes disease. 2021 was the year of the ox. So I put here that can deal with burdens of all kinds. 2022, last year, was the year of the tiger, changes of all kinds, and rabbit, of course, 2023. But if anyone wants to know they're a rabbit, the years are 2011, 1999, 1987, 1975, 1963, 1951, 1939, and 1927. If you're born in those years, you're probably a rabbit. All right. So what does the year of the rabbit bring?
Goodness.
Oh dear. God, my cards aren't great, folks. My cards aren't great.
Mine
what do you have?
A little bit confronting.
Oh, are they? All right. Well, do you want me to go? I'll go, and let's see if the both of you cards are better than mine. Look, here we are. Six of Swords. We're wanting all to what? To move to smoother waters. Yeah. Just get on with it and just be like, oh my God, leave 2022 behind. It was a whole pile of BS, and I'm sick and tired of it. But look who turns up in the obstacle position. It's the Hanged Man. So what this says to me is, as much as we might try and move on, a lot of the legacy of 2022 in the past early years of the 2020s might still be sticking around, folks. It might take a while for the energy to shift. Then we get the High Priestess. There's more intrigues. This could be a year of intrigues, secrets coming out, secret agendas, all sorts, which could be happening all over the world. Yeah. So it looks like we're going to try and move on, but it looks like there might be a lot of intrigues, but this is also beginnings and endings and beginnings. So there will be some fresh starts. Here, as my outcome card, I get the Five of Pentacles, but that's a bit oblique to end on the Five of Pentacles. So I'm going to pull a clarifier. to see how that will change. Let's have a couple of clarifiers on that. Let's see. Let's turn this over. Oh, all right. So we're going to need strength, strength, perseverance, and there's also going to be a longing to return to the past. So we are going to want things to kind of go back. Maybe it's not going to move as quickly as we would like, but I think if we use our strength, then we might be able to get some sense of normality back. But let's just hope this isn't wistful nostalgia and it's genuinely a return of some good times. Who wants to go next?
I'll go if you like.
All right.
Okay, it started with the death card. Okay, so here, this is the whole bogey of COVID, I think, hanging over the country. When you've locked up your population for that length of time, even if everything was released for the Chinese New Year, and so people aren't going to recover from that experience, let alone COVID. So it's still hovering over the entire country. They're walking through a time of fire because while the preoccupation is COVID, their economy is also in a transition. So they've gone through experimenting with capitalism, then peak capitalism of dragging many people up into the middle class, but not able to sustain that now, all that. So the fire is going to rage with people. 2 10s, the bats in the tree, right, followed by the 10 of tides, the rainbow. So I think there's a secrecy here a bit with these bats, but bats are, if there's any bioscientists out there, they'll roll their eyes, but bats act as a flock, right? Bats leave a bat cave and they all fly left. I remember reading that on a cigarette packet 40 years ago. I presume it's true, right? That's how long ago. So this is the people of China being groomed, you know, through the one-child policy, through everything, to think only as part of the collective.
Right.
Right. It took a long time to say that, sorry. But there's going to be a release and expansion of people's intellectual freedom, and they're going to walk away from that towing the line for the government sort of thing, I think, in vast numbers with those 2 10s. That's what
And a lot were calling actually for the end of Xi Jinping as well, which was extraordinary. I mean, the transformations China's gone under, but Lady G, you're going to close the show for us.
Okay, well, I got going into the overarching thing is the moon. And what I got with that this time is that it's going to be really affecting people because people are mainly water. So the cycles of the moon this year are going to be really strong and affecting also all of our water tides and everything. So that's going to be difficult this year. I also got going into it is this past. The thief, the wanting to go back to the past, but the past is dead. So, you know, you've got to move forward, but, you know, people don't want to move forward. Going into it, we have wanting to get to calmer waters, and there will be a lot more of this courtship of a romance and that type of thing. Romantic notions rather than realistic things. Yeah, the difficulty is the distant horizons, wanting good luck, but again, bearing a lot of difficulties, a lot of difficult energies they're going to have to go through when it comes to moving forward. And we have being tied up when it comes to mental restrictions. And I think this is the court of public opinions that are anchored in. So, you know, it's going to be a tough year, it looks like.
Yeah. It's been quite mixed, hasn't it? And someone here as well, Celtic Seer, when will the first indictment arrest of a GOP congressman take back? We'll have to look at that next week. But frustrations are running thin. So, but when we take that, and thanks for that reading, Lady G, when we take that all in, it looks like 2023 is about us trying to collectively move on from the themes and the issues that have been exposed and come up in the last couple of years, but it's not like we quite shake it off. Some of us want to go back to how things really were in the past, but as Lady G was saying, we can't live on the past. Many of us might want to move on for the future, but it seems there's a lot of ballast and baggage. So let's just, to end on a more optimistic note, let's all try and keep moving forward. Let's, with accountability and all of that stuff, try not to get too nostalgic about the past and embrace our new future. Saturn is going to speed things up. My goodness, just you wait and see, folks. Mars going direct. More stuff will kick off, but we have to try and maintain our optimism going forward. But I don't think we're going to be quite able to shake off the past just yet. Because why? So much stuff is what? Unresolved.
Yes,
exactly. That's a big part of it. We've got to come to grips with the past and look at it realistically and then make changes rather than wishing it just dissipates.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And on to the next shiny thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we need some accountability and stuff like that. Right, we have gone way over. It's an hour and 15 minutes. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Thanks to everyone for the comments and the donations. You guys, when you see the playback, my God, I couldn't even keep up. It's absolutely chock-a-block. But you know, it's all about the debate. But I just want to say a thank you to Dr. Lena and of course Lady G for bringing your experience, your wisdom, and spiciness to these these debates. And it's so important, and I think it's really something that I really treasure, and I think it makes the show very special. People don't always agree, but it's not, YouTube is not just about hearing what you want to hear. Yeah, we do our best to represent the truth as best as we understand it, and we also respect the cards, what the cards say, as well as astrology. So last comments from you ladies before we close the show. Lady G, what would you like to say?
Yeah, new year, let's expand our knowledge. Let's get more grounded with the earth and things going forward. Look for positivity wherever we can find it and buckle up. Okay.
Yes, so true. And mine is a very similar message. Really look after yourselves because we're in for the long haul and we have to be in tip-top condition. So, be really careful that you're getting enough rest, enough sleep, and hanging out with like-minded people wherever you can, even if that's online because your real-world contacts aren't that affinity with you. So for those of you who are blue dots in a red sea.
Yeah, wait a minute. We're real world contacts.
That's right. That's right. No, I'm talking about people who are married to MAGA files or surrounded by them in their work.
Oh,
Indeed. So thank you again for that show, everyone. And we will be back next week, okay, and we'll see what transpires. My God, a week is a long time on planet Earth now. Whoa. A lot happens in that time, so we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I think we had over 1,351 or something like that. Awesome. So a lot of you. So thanks again, and we will see you next week. All right, bye for now, folks. All right, bye-bye.